Waterproof ink is going to be most helpful with that. Alright, so right away you can see how crisp that detail is when you stamp on this paper. I'm going to dry this, so I want to make sure that this is heat set. This will eventually air dry on this paper. It'll actually dry a little quicker than it will on glossy paper. But I like this paper because of the coating on both sides. If you were going to make a card out of it, or if you wanted to put it into a book, you can actually work on both sides. And I just want to dry this until the shine of the archival goes away.
How are they selling this?
This is sold in ATC size, or it's sold in 8.5 by 11. Yeah, so if you want to cut it up.
Put a 10 in there?
Yes. Yeah, and it's really a fun paper because the significance of this versus, say, our glossy card is, one, you don't have the shine, it's a matte paper. But all of the products work on this,
Gotcha.
Which means you can use alcohol inks on this paper the same way you use glossy, so you get that reactive property, but it's a matte finish instead of a shiny finish. So you can use alcohol ink, paint, distress, Adirondack, perfect pearls, anything you want on that paper. Pretty cool. I really love the finish on it. So let's talk about coloring 101. Because I'm not a colorer, so I just kind of do what I want and I like it. So here's what we're going to do with the markers. First of all, I'm just going to go in, and you can actually add some color with the markers, and I'm just going to go around the edge, and I can go with any other colors that I want and go right into that ink without ever worrying about contaminating my colors, okay? Because these pens won't contaminate. They'll always go back to its color. So that's Wild Honey. If I wanted to add a little bit brighter color, you can throw that in. But the cool thing is how these react with water. So I don't have to go in and color the entire image. I'm going to go in with a water brush. Now, we've also released 2 new water brushes at this show that I did with Ranger. One is called a detailer, and that's because I wanted a water brush with a fine point, which means every time you paint or color with it, it goes back to a fine point, so it doesn't stay as a flat brush. But I also wanted a flat brush, one that I've not seen before, so I actually did a flat water brush. And this one's really fun because, let me just flood that with water, kind of get that ready. The cool thing about this is that I actually have a flat brush that I can do watercolor background, but I can also take this cap and pop it off, and now I have larger bristles if I'm going to do a canvas or mixed media. And then, or I can also clean the bristles with that, but then when I'm done I slide it right through and then you have your flat again. So this one's really been good for backgrounds. So let's go into this. Now these have a bladder control, so in there it's not going to just feed the water, so it will actually feed only when the bristles bend down. So that gives you really good control of blending the colors, and because this ink is reactive, there is no time factor as far as how quick you have to go in and blend your colors, but you can see right away just how they blend. Doesn't matter when you are coloring lines, they'll blend all on their own. If I wanted to go in and add color, I can continue to color directly on the surface, or I can just swipe it right on the craft sheet, pick up some color, and go in and color that. Pretty simple. Some other things to know when it comes to coloring with these is if I want to go in and create a little bit more intense color, because as this dries, and I'll dry this butterfly here that I colored, because this is a coated paper, that coating is going to kind of go over your image, go over your colors, and sometimes people want this color to be a little bit more vibrant. If that's the case, I don't know if you can see how it looks a little bit lighter. It's just because of that coating on there. You can punch up the intensity of the color just by coloring directly over the top. So I can go and we'll take a little bit of Barn Door, and I can add those highlights of color, and I don't have to blend that at all, and it'll stay exactly like that. So that's one of the things that's important to let your customers know, is they can always go back and add their highlights, shadows, lowlights as often as they want. No, it's never going to muddy that up. So we can color that. That's pretty simple, but wait, there's more.
Of course there is.
Another cool way to use these markers is directly onto the stamp. And you may have seen this done a few times, but I don't think you've seen it done quite like this. So I'm going to go in, and I'm just going to use the side of the marker. That's the whole brush side of it. And I'm just going to really work with my colors, and again, I can work right inside the other colors and blend them without ever worrying about contaminating the marker, because as soon as you scribble it out, it's going to go right back to its original color. So these are never going to absorb color, so if they're worrying about, oh, I'm going to make a mistake, I'm going to ruin my marker, they're not going to.
So even over a black soot or anything that dark?
Even over
nothing.
a black soot,
Okay.
yeah. It's going to start, but then it's going to clean right out. So here I'm just going to go in and work with just some different colors, and I'm working right on the stamp. And you don't have to work quick. You can really go in and use as much or as little of a color as you want to. So I'm just going to create like a little shadow around the edge. been a fun demo, I have to tell you. I can color all day long. So I'll go get in the zone and I'll forget that people are standing around and keep talking. Yeah, like I've never had such a stress-free demo. It's like, what'd you do?
We'll just watch you color.
Yeah, it's like I just colored. But even people, they're kind of sitting around just going, wow. So here I'm just going to go in and color the bodies. I want to add a little bit of that. If I want to go in with black soot because I want to do the text, I can do that as well. Now, this ink, you'll notice when you put it on the stamp that it still has a little bit of sheen to it, but it's not a super wet ink. There is unlimited open time to this, meaning you could color the stamp and you could come back in an hour and still go back and stamp with it.
Oh,
the key to this is just a little huff of hot breath, but no hyperventilating, that's all you need. Because it's fun to watch in class, right? So we're just